Hey everybody, it's Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to episode 53 of our RuneScape 2007 Road to 100 Mil. At the end of the last episode, I said I'd be finishing up these 5,000 Ranars, and I have done that. I'm just selling them here, which might take a second, so you will see a small cut right here. And there we go, the Ranars have sold, so now we can see what kind of cash stack we are looking at. We're going to get almost 80 mil, I don't think quite there, 79 mil, and let's see how much. 79.4 mil, not too bad, almost at 80. It looks like we'll get it this episode. As you can probably see, number 8 for the top 10 is going to be Cannonballs. I'm going to be buying a bunch of steel bars here. Let's see, I think I want to buy 5,000 steel bars. That sounds like a good number to me. Does that sound like a good number to you guys? Alright, I'm in then. We'll be doing the same thing we usually do, giving some pros and cons and some XP and GP rates. But first, I'm going to head over to Edgeville. Alright everybody, as always I'm going to start with the cons. The first con we have is the process of making cannonballs can feel very slow. It's definitely a longer drawn out process. You only have to take so many bank trips per hour, which makes it feel like you're not doing any clicking, which in a way can be good. This is going to be a pro too, you guys will see it in a minute. But for the cons, it just feels like you're not doing much, which in a way can kind of suck, because then you may not want to do as many cannonballs. If you're sitting there and you think, man, I'm really not making that much money or getting that much XP, you may not want to do it as long. You're just going to get bored and leave. I understand that. That can happen in this case because this is not only AFK, but it is very AFK. It's a very long process to do a single inventory of cannonballs. The other con that I have on the list would be that there's really no way to speed it up. For certain moneymakers like agility, excuse me, like rune crafting for instance, can be sped up with agility. So things like that really don't happen with cannonballs. Clearly a little bit higher agility can help because there is some running, but it doesn't make that much of a difference because it's so AFK and you stand for such a long time. Even with a low agility level, you're really never going to run out of run, especially a short distance like the Edgeville Furnace here. So those two cons working together makes it sound great, right? It feels really slow and there's no way to speed it up. So what are the pros? I can get right into that. First one, very AFK. We can always start with the AFK. Don't worry guys, not everything in the top 10 is going to be AFK. It just happens the first 3 and maybe 4 are kind of AFK. But that's why they didn't make the top of the list. They're AFK and they don't make as much money. But since it's very AFK, even though I said that for that same reason you can get kind of bored, you can also do a lot of other things while you're doing this, and maybe not everybody's a multitasker. If you're playing RuneScape, maybe you just want to play RuneScape, and I understand that. That means AFK is probably not for you. For me, it's perfect though. I really like it because you get about 3 minutes per inventory to go do something else. Maybe I look back to make sure I didn't level up and I stopped doing my cannonballs or logged out or something or other, but I don't have to check in very often, so I can get a lot of work done in other areas other than RuneScape. The next thing I would have to say is that you get some smithing XP. It's not a lot of smithing experience. You can get a lot more by doing Blast Furnace, which is why Blast Furnace will show up higher up on the list. But you still get some smithing XP, and I'm always down to get some experience. If I'm making a lot of money and I'm getting experience too, then that's that much better than making a lot of money without getting any experience. I'll talk about exactly how much experience you are getting with this when we talk about the XP and the GP rates. The next pro would be that it's a very low requirement. You only need 30 smithing and to do one quest, which only takes 5 to 10 minutes. Then you can do it. You can make all the money you need. It doesn't ever speed up, like I said, so once you have the minimum requirement, you're making the maximum amount of money you can make from it. So being a low requirement is good. The low money requirement may not really be there. It's usually 500 to 600 coins per steel bar, so that's not too much money, but you're going to want to buy at least 1,000 steel bars to really start making a decent profit, which will cost 600k, which isn't terrible, but unlike Flax, where it only costs you 10k to buy 1,000 of them, it's really not that much of a low money requirement, but the low level requirement makes up for that. The last pro that I have here is that it's decent money, and I say decent as a pro because it's AFK. When you're doing something that's AFK and you don't have to pay much attention and you can make a pretty good amount of money per hour, which again, I'll get a little more specific in just a second when I talk about the rates, then I always think that's a positive. I'm not really doing much and I'm still making a lot of money. Well, this is great. Not only am I multitasking from the AFK, but I'm actually making a decent profit, where if I'm multitasking but I'm really not making much money on RuneScape, is that multitasking if I'm not getting anything done on one of those tasks? I don't think so. So I'm very glad that it's a good amount of money. It's probably one of the best AFK moneymakers out there for highest amount of money earned, which brings us into our next section, the rates for the GP and the experience. I usually do just over 500 steel bars per trip, or excuse me, per hour. Per trip you only do 27. But I like to round right to 500 because it kind of depends. If I'm looking away and I finish the inventory, I may not necessarily be right there when it finishes and run to the bank immediately. Just it's easier to round down to 500 because it makes all the numbers pretty solid. But you could get up to like 530. You might be able to do one more inventory. It's not that big of a difference though. And the kind of rates that's going to give you, because it's just over 25 experience per cannonball, 25.6 experience to be exact, you're looking at just under 13k XP an hour. And I know I just said that the experience you're getting as a pro, and you're probably thinking 13k XP an hour, that's less than I was even getting when I was rune crafting. Well, it's not great XP, but it's better than 0 XP per hour, which I would get from doing a lot of other AFK moneymakers. The amount of money you make per hour definitely depends on the prices. Hopefully that's obvious. Doing about 500 cannonballs per hour, you usually can make about 350 coins profit per cannonball if you're patient when you buy the steel bars and when you sell the cannonballs back. I believe I just said 350 coins per cannonball. I meant steel bars. So 500 times 350 would be 175k an hour. If you're a lot more patient than just patient, or you get a good price range, you may make up to 200k an hour while AFK. It's one of the better AFK profits I've seen in a while, and occasionally cannonballs really spike. So if you're someone who likes to make cannonballs, pay attention, because if you do them at the right time, you can make a ton of money doing this without any effort. That's going to wrap up our cannonball discussion. I'm going to finish up all 5,000 of these steel bars and have the cannonballs ready to sell into the GE, which is probably going to take us up to an 80 mil cash stack. So this is a fairly exciting episode. The number 8 in the top 10 being cannonballs, getting us to 80 mil. Yeah, not much of a pattern there. I will see you guys when I'm finished up with all these steel bars and we're ready to sell. Alright everybody, I'm on my last 2 steel bars here, and then I'm just going to run right up to the Grand Exchange since it's right next to us and go ahead and sell these cannonballs. The prices have stayed at a pretty good pace. As I said, 500 cannonballs an hour is my normal pace. So 500 steel bars per hour, which would be 2,000 cannonballs, is my normal pace, which would mean it took about 10 hours to do this. So at 175 to 200k an hour, if I was keeping up that pace, would be about a 2 mil profit. So hopefully these prices have stayed good, which as far as I've seen they have. So if these sell fairly quickly, actually I take that back, these aren't going to sell fairly quickly. I'm going to sell them for a little bit higher, and we will wait a second. I'll have a small fast forwarded clip if it does take a while. Maybe we get lucky and they sell right away for a high price. Let's cross our fingers for that option. I actually vote for that. You guys vote for it too. Now that I'm at the Grand Exchange, I'm going to sell these 20,000 cannonballs. I definitely think they'll take a while because you can only buy 14,000 as a single person, so I don't think that many cannonball sales offers are going to be here. So here's the fast forwarded clip of me selling all the cannonballs. Didn't take too long. It was a total of 8 minutes, which is definitely worth the wait for that extra bit of profit. Now that I have this 4.6 mil to add to the stack, we can see if that brings us to 80, which I'm sure it will, and I can see now that it does. 80 mil, and let's see how much. 80.9 mil. Ooh, we're so close to that 81 mil mark. Alright everybody, for our next in-between episode thing, we're going to do some oak plank making. So I'm going to buy some oak logs here. I think I'm looking at a pretty decent profit for this, so I'm going to do 7,500 oak logs, which is quite a lot for an in-between episode for just making planks, because you could probably do about 1,000 an hour. So 7+ hours on an in-between episode is probably the longer we've had, but it's really not going to make us like a ton of profit. We're probably making right about a mil from it, which is how much I wanted to make for this in-between episode. So now that I have bought the logs plus some stamina potions, I'm thinking that I may have to come back to buy some more stamina potions. I am going to run over to the East Varrock Bank, where I will meet you guys next, and we can start running some oak planks. Alright everybody, this is not the first time you've seen me run these oak logs up there and make some oak planks, so you know how it works. It's basically just going to be running back and forth and back and forth. I'm going to be using these stamina potions occasionally to keep my run as full as possible. I believe I can do about 1,000 an hour. If you're really pumping it out, you can get up to 1,100, but I don't like to expect that I'm going to do the perfect amount per hour, because then I'm going to think I'm done in 6 hours, and after 6 hours comes, I still have an hour and a half or maybe just an hour to go, and that's kind of upsetting. I'd rather have thought it took 7 hours and then suddenly it takes 6. Either way, I have a bunch of oak logs to turn into planks, and I better get started on it like I am. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video and helping support the channel. If you enjoyed the video, we would appreciate it if you would hit that like button and tell us what you liked about it in the comments section below. If you're looking for more videos like this one, then go ahead and join the cul-de-sac by clicking that subscribe button, and follow us on Twitter at @TheEdBoys. All links are in the description.